This is a new Giant Propel Advanced, a bike you choose if all you care about is going as fast as you possibly can. And in this video, we'll find out just how fast it really is and compares to other bikes in this category, as well as compared to my own TCR Advanced. I'll also share some likes and dislikes, the price and the weight, and of course, go for a ride and see how it performs and the handles on my local roads here in the sunny Cotswolds. So I'm David, you're watching Just Ride Bikes. Let's dive in. Let's start with the main changes to the new bike, and it has been totally revamped over the old model. So it's lighter, stiffer, more aero, and comfort is better as well. And built up, as you see it here, with fancy carbon wheels and a SRAM Force AXS group set, weighs 7.8 kilos on my scales, which is pretty decent for an aero race bike with deep wheels and at the price point as well. And to be honest with you, any bike under 8 kilos is pretty lightweight in the grand scheme of things. Giant has also worked on the aero performance of the bike with a new frame design and new handlebar and stem, which we'll dive into more later, for a claimed 6.2 watt saving at 40 kilometers per hour. So a small but decent saving. And then the frame stiffness has improved overall by 9.2%, especially down in the bottom bracket area. And then compliance is up a whopping 85%, which is just amazing. All thanks to super skinny rear stays and a slimmer, smaller profile seat tube and seat post to hopefully remedy the lack of comfort and the hard ride quality the old bike really suffered from. So some impressive numbers, but what they all mean when you hit the road? Well, let's go for a spin and find out. And straight away, it's clear this is a fast bike. As fast as you expect, given how it looks. Once you're up to speed, it really helps you hold a higher average speed, a nice cruising speed on a flat road really well. And with the power meter, I can tell less power is required compared to my TCR. So it's definitely faster than my TCR, and that's with the same wheels and tyres which I've been testing both bikes on. And thanks to a lower weight, you can hold that high speed for longer on the climbs. In my opinion, it's as fast as a Canyon Aeroad, which is a good thing, very popular bike, but I don't think it's as fast as the new Trek Madone, especially thanks to that very narrow handlebar on that bike. One of the best changes to the new bike is the new handlebar and stem and the internal cable routing. Now, if you remember, the old bike had a frankly awful routing system where the cables and hoses went over the stem and into the top tube with a big clunky cover over the top. But now we have a much better system and more in line with what other frame manufacturers are using. So the cables, well, there aren't any cables on the bike, it's wireless, but the brake hoses go inside this nice carbon aero handlebar, underneath the stem and into the steering tube, which is D-shaped, which is a bit of a worry, perhaps because most bike brands are using a round steering tube, but the D-shaped steering tube gives more space for the hoses in front. So it's a much cleaner looking system and more aero too, and some of those aero savings we mentioned earlier actually come from the new handlebar and stem, which is something we're seeing on lots of new bikes like the Trek Madone and the Specialized Tarmac, where most of the aero savings actually come from the cockpit. Now, when it comes to looks, Giant bikes usually get a bashing for being boring and not that appealing, but I think that's brand snobbery personally. To me, this bike looks really smart. I love the shape of the frame and all the proportions, the horizontal level top tube, for example, and the purposeful looking down tube and big fork blades, and then the color. This blue really pops on a sunny day when the light catches it just right, and I really like the brushed metal logo on the down tube and a small logo on the head tube. But let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Am I wrong or am I right? If you don't buy Giant for the way it looks, you do buy it for the value for money, which is really strong, and this is a good case in point. This mid-range Advanced costs £6,400 and it is well spec'd for the money in the most part. So we have SRAM's mid-tier Force AXS group set, but it's the old generation and not the new generation. It works the same, but we have the older, bigger hoods, which aren't as nice to use as the new, smaller hoods, and the older looking components, which aren't quite as smart. And the value for money on this bike really compares nicely to other bikes in this price range. Now, if all that is too much money for you, then the range does start at just £3,000, which is pretty good for all the aero performance you get here. And if feeling flush, then it goes all the way up to £12,000 for the SL with a Durace Di2 group set. And that bike, as I showed you last year, weighs just 6.9 kilos. So plenty of options across 3 tiers of frame to suit your budget and requirements. So those are all the main details. Let me share some likes and dislikes with you of the new Giant Propel Advanced. I love the fact we have a power meter on a bike of this price. It's a bike designed for racing, and if you are racing and training for racing, you are probably using power, so having a power meter makes a lot of sense. And here we have Giant's own power meter baked into a SRAM crankset, which I've never seen before. It's a spindle-based left-right measuring power meter. And while I haven't done any extensive comparison testing with my Wahoo Speedplay pedals, the power figures seem consistent with what I would expect. It's great to have clearance for up to 30mm wide tyres, because while it's a bike designed for racing, lots of people buy bikes not for racing, but for riding fast on their local roads. And here in the UK, the roads are far from smooth. So going to a wider tyre, a 28 or even a 30, to maximise comfort makes a lot of sense. I love the fact that not only do you get bottom cages with the bike, but they are aero optimised as well for your marginal gains. The one on the down tube is wider to match the profile and the shape of the down tube, while the one on the seat tube is a bit narrower. And they're good quality cages too. Good bottle retention, no rattling like that. So good quality cages, a real nice attention to detail. Another nice detail is the out front computer mount, which fits flush with the stem and really solid, and you can adjust the angle really nicely, and it fits Wahoo and Garmin computers and really secure in use as well. The other change with the new bike is the geometry, which is now in line with the TCR, and that is a really good move because the geo on that TCR, having owned one for the last 2 years, is just fantastic, and it makes it easier to switch between the two bikes or choose a Propel if you already have a TCR. I don't really know why we have such a wide handlebar on a bike trying to minimise your drag as much as possible, where narrow is proven to be faster, and even the Trek Madone has a super narrow handlebar. I'm a big fan of a 2-piece handlebar and stem for the ability to change it, to customise and tune your fit. But it's a shame that Giant have used a system that limits your optional stems to their own range. You can't fit another brand if you want. At least Giant does offer a wide range of options, and the 110mm on a size ML bike is perfect for me at 181 centimeters tall. One thing I really hate about the bike is a tiny 1033 cassette on the back, just too small. Yes, it's a race bike designed to go fast, but with the lower weight and increased comfort, it's a bike that could be an all-rounder, the only bike you ride, and for most people that will include hills. In a world of increasingly wide tyres, where even the pros are using 28s and wider, I don't really know why we have a narrow 25mm tyre on this bike. Yes, they may be more aero in the wind tunnel, but out here in the real world, they really harm the ride quality and the comfort of the bike. And going to a wide tyre made a big difference with no real downside when it comes to speed and rolling resistance. So a wide tyre and a better tyre is something I recommend upgrading straight away. I wasn't really sure how Giant had both managed to increase the stiffness and improve the compliance. Surely both are not possible. And where I ride my bikes here in the UK, the roads are very rarely smooth. You're always dodging potholes and dealing with rough tarmac, gravel and dirt, you name it. And thankfully, this new bike is a big step forward over the old model it replaces. Way more smoothness, way better comfort. It doesn't quite float over the roads, there's no magic carpets, but it doesn't beat you up. But you still feel quite a bit of road surface through contact points. It's a very direct feeling bike, clearly a lot of stiffness through the frame and the front end, but it's not beating you up. There's no kind of jagged edge to the comfort the bike offers. The tyres though do hold it back from being as smooth as it could be. So I switched to some MVs with 28mm wide Conti GP 5000s, the ones I'm using on my Giant TCR, and that made a big difference, a big improvement in the comfort and the ability of the bike to really help filter out all the harshness generated by riding over badly maintained roads. So a tyre upgrade would be my recommendation if you're buying this bike. The wheels are okay, just slap some better tyres on there and you'll be good. Perhaps the reason it's not the smoothest bike in its class is due to massive stiffness it exhibits in all situations. Climbing, sprinting, whatever it is, this is a very stiff frame, especially around the bottom of the bike, around the bottom brackets. So I was riding up a quite big climb the other day, putting out some power, trying really hard, you know, and I really felt the immense stiffness of the bottom half of the frame. Really felt like the frame was being super efficient in taking all your power, every ounce of energy, and turning it into forward motion. As cheesy as I know that sounds, but it had this unreal feeling of just being an incredible power transfer machine, just astonishing. And how does it compare to my own TCR? Well, riding both bikes with the same wheels and tyres on the same route, the same roads, and the Propel is clearly the faster bike. More efficient, more stiffness, just a faster overall package. But the TCR still wins me over. It's more sprightly, more lively, lighter on the climbs, and just a bike that is more fun to ride, and a bike that still puts a smile on my face. Not quite as fast or as stiff, but still for me a better match for the riding I do. But if you're racing and you really want the ultimate speed package, then the new Propel is a great option. It's not a bad bike in any way really, it does everything you want, and it really is a good option to consider this year if you're in the market for an aero race bike. So should you buy the new Giant Propel Advanced? Well, if you want to go as fast as you possibly can, but don't want to sacrifice comfort, weight and handling, then the new bike is a really good option and compares well to other rivals in this category. Now hopefully you found this review useful and interesting, and if you did, make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more regular bike reviews here at Just Ride Bikes by hitting that button down below. And if you want to see a roundup of other amazing aero bikes on the market right now, then do watch the video right up here. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.